Black or White is a brilliant film. It's a solid story. The performances are great. It's definitely very thought-provoking. This was released in 2014. It's directed by Mike Binder, written by Binder, with a cast including Kevin Costner, Octavia Spencer, Jillian Estell, Bill Burr, and various others. And I have to say, I'm pleased the beginning was the beginning, because we get what I feel is certainly the most emotional part out of the way very quickly, and this is because Elliott's wife dies at the very, very beginning of the film, and he is left to raise his granddaughter Eloise on his own because they have been raising her. And now her paternal grandmother, Rowena, offers to look after her, and Elliott doesn't want that. Bearing in mind, Elliott's just lost his wife, and now the paternal grandmother is wanting to take away his granddaughter as well. Obviously, at the end of the day, what's best for the child is what's most important, but nobody wants to lose their wife and then have their child or grandchild also taken away from them. It would be absolutely devastating. So needless to say, it's a very difficult situation, and Elliott wants to try and keep Eloise, but we also have the big question of where is the best place for her. It is such a heavy topic. As I said, I'm glad they got the initial part of the film over and done with very quickly. They didn't actually dwell on that too much, or the emotional aspect, and I think that it allowed the film to focus more on Eloise and where she was going to be rather than the grief. But needless to say, the grief does come into it. It plays obviously a pivotal role in the shaping of the story, but I'm glad that they didn't build up too much to those initial events. I'm glad that they just got to the point immediately. For me, at least, that worked really well, rather than prolonging that initial pain. That's not to say the rest of the film is light and fluffy. It is serious, it's important, it's impactful, but there are times when it's a little easier to watch. There are times when it's more thought-provoking than it is heavy, and I think they got the balance, in my opinion, pretty much spot on. I think it deals with the narrative very respectfully as well, and what's important to mention, and this is one of the added layers to the narrative, is that Eloise is biracial, which could affect where she feels she fits in, because Elliott, her grandfather, with whom she is living, is white, and the paternal grandmother who wants to take over custody is black. So not only is it a case of where should she go in terms of who's going to be the best to raise her, but there's also a question of where would she most feel like she fits in. And I think that obviously gives it another layer, and I think they did a really good job of addressing that. All that being said, all of that sounds really heavy, but because it is so engaging and so well executed, and because the characters are so well written, it kind of becomes an easy watch. I was absolutely drawn into this. I never wanted to look away. It was really gripping. I really needed to know what the final outcomes were going to be, and I really enjoyed the journey of finding out. The courtroom scenes for me were of particular joy. I'm a big fan of courtroom dramas. I love courtroom scenes in films, and thankfully I thought they were done very, very well. Brilliant characters, believable responses to the situations, really great performances. There's a lot of emotion in the performances, which does make it a much more powerful viewing experience. Visually, it's very strong, with great lighting and camera work, some good locations. Again, the courtroom scenes were a particular favourite, and some good music as well. I honestly can't fault it. I think that Black or White is a powerful, important, thought-provoking, moving film that's not too heavy, but still has a lot to offer. And if it sounds like a story for you, and I do think this could have quite wide appeal, then I'd say it's one that's absolutely worth watching.